Hello, podcast listener. Well, I'm back from my extended holiday break. But during the holiday season, I met up with today's guest, who's behind an intriguing and innovative new brand. As you'll hear, she and her sisters have quite a history in the wine business. So without further delay, here's today's episode.
You could drink all three wines. You can also experience those different stages in your life. You can be the one who's the sage, who's giving wisdom back. You could be the artist who's creative and inspirational. Then you could be the adventurer who's seeking and thrilling and trying to push the boundaries.
She's Giovanna Mondavi, or more casually known as Gigi. And yes, she is related to Napa Valley's Mondavi family. Her side of the family owned Charles Krug Winery, and her granduncle was Robert Mondavi. Gigi and others in her family are members of the majority woman-owned sais Mondavi and family. They are also brand ambassadors for their new wines, Aviana, which is a celebration of strength, adventure, and ingenuity. The brand features a very cool interactive label that brings Aviana to life through augmented reality technology. More on that topic is coming up. On the Wine Road is sponsored by Sonoma Clean Power. For those of you in this beautiful area, learn how your actions can make a greater impact with clean, renewable energy at poweringeverydaymoments.org. That's poweringeverydaymoments.org. Aside from her affiliation with sais Mondavi and family, Gigi, along with her sisters Angelina, Alicia, Rihanna, and her cousin Leah, are known as the G4, the fourth generation to follow in the line that started with patriarch Cesare and matriarch Rosa Mondavi, who purchased Charles Krug Estate in 1940. So Gigi's been in the industry much of her life.
I was born on the property. I can jokingly say that.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Rosa was a strong-willed Italian woman who kept the family business afloat a couple of times in her lifetime, during Prohibition when they were in Minnesota, and then again in 1959 when your great-grandfather passed. And furthermore, having interviewed your father, Mark, and your uncle, Peter, I understand she was a hell of a cook.
Yes.
Loved serving people, and hence Rosa's Kitchen, or the Cucina di Rosa, in Charles Krug's tasting room.
Yep, is named after her.
Yeah. So the brand Aviana is a way for you to pay homage to her strength, love of wine, and the endless energy that Rosa possessed.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's an homage to her legacy that we, unfortunately we didn't give enough credit to, and we're trying to revitalize just how strong of a woman she was during all the transitions through, family's been doing it 100 years, and she was part of that establishing legacy. And definitely when Cesare passed away in 1959, she became president of the company, and that was very unheard of during that time period. So fabulous cook, I think strong, independent Italian leader. She persevered through a lot, and she ultimately, I'm going to say, this is our way of giving back to her and her legacy that she helped create for us.
And the mother of Peter Sr. Mondavi and Robert Mondavi.
Yep, and two other, Mary and Helen as well. So there was the four kids.
Yeah. So back then, they were the Mondavis, right?
Yes.
Wasn't Robert that decided to call it Mondavi?
Yeah, it was. It's a great story because when they immigrated from Italy, they were trying to assimilate. And so what was one of the ways that you did that is you tried to adapt yourself to the culture of what Americans were at that time. So naturally, they went from Mondavi to Mondavi because it would more culturally fit in that time period. And the story is that, yes, Robert Mondavi was the one who repositioned it back to Mondavi. I was not in that room. I've been raised with it being Mondavi, not Mondavi. But, I always try and remember why did they do that in the time period. And it was because they were trying to fit in. And ultimately, Mondavi probably lasted for a few decades. And
I never heard the backstory on that.
Yeah, that's about as much as I know for the backstory. I couldn't even tell you the year that it would happen, of when it was transitioning. But I would imagine that 20s, 30s, and 40s, they went by Mondavi, even the 50s.
From what I understand, when he opened his own winery,
about right.
And he was dealing a lot with the French. He was learning a lot from the French at that time. So I could see why he wanted more of a European name.
Absolutely. It was, at the end of the day, European. We went from I'd say immigrating to trying to leave the European cultural past and try and find the frontier of the West. And then naturally what happens, we give homage and thanks to go back to where we came from.
Embraced the past.
Embrace the past, food, culture, cuisine, entertainment. I think that's one thing that definitely in our family we've continued.
Well, yeah. Interestingly, you're doing it now with Aviana.
Yep, we are.
So how did you come up with the name Aviana?
So Aviana was really just, we wanted a brand that for me was more reflective on not only giving homage to the past feminine patriarchy that we have, but we needed something fresh and vibrant. And so it really comes down to just being strength and purity. So it's really just an inspiration. It's Latin for the base of it. And so ultimately when we came up from the name, it's not a name of an individual. So that's, one of the things that we try and do is you have to be creative. Yeah. But we wanted it to have a significance of being more feminine and more approachable, especially with the design on the label that Aviana just stuck. It's funny too, because, you think of, we've got Leah, Lucio, Giovanna, Angelina, Rihanna, Alicia, like Aviana just seems to be just an absolute fit in the character of our persona.
And Rosa is a lovely name, but
Rosa, yeah,
it's just not as powerful and
not as powerful
as Aviana.
Aviana, you kind of want to say it with flair, Aviana.
Yeah, right. Just out of curiosity, I looked it up to see if it meant anything, and I did come across that name means bearer of good news. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay, I would say one of the many interpretations. So, well, in that case, I even like it more.
I thought they must have named it because of that.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty name, and it's easy to remember too, which is the nice part. Is once you know it, it's unforgettable.
And Aviana comes in 3 varietals: Cabernet Sauvignon, a red blend, and Verdejo. But what's unexpected is the juice is sourced from France, Portugal, and Spain.
Yes.
Very nice. How did that come about?
Yeah, so we, for fourth generation, our big focus was to expand outside of just Napa Valley and what we're known for in the Californians. So we have a partner in Europe that helps source fruit, and we've deliberately designed, because of the price point of this label, we want to have the flexibility. And so from a winemaking standpoint, we wanted to be able to have fun, give it some character, have some differentiator between the SKUs offered, between the Cabernet Sauvignon, the red blend, and the Verdejo. And we deliberately didn't signify parcels for this. So, sometimes when you do that, it locks you into that one varietal and that one style. For this, we want it to be more fun. We want it to be more able to evolve year over year. And for what we are looking for, does align. I think the funnest one that's been great to educate people on is the Verdejo. Just because so many people are familiar with the Cabernet Sauvignon, and then a red blend is a Meritage. But the Verdejo was something that we were looking for, something to be slightly unique but not off the beaten path, that people would still be interested in and willing to try. And that's kind of been the style that we're looking for. So one of the things we like to, for this brand in particular, is just allow it to evolve over the years and have it be different from the properties that we're sourcing from and where we're sourcing from. And that's just also, it's just more approachable that way.
Yeah. I've come to like Verdejo. It's a nice, refreshing Spanish wine.
It is.
And the Portuguese, even though you refer to it as a Meritage, there are some Portuguese grape varieties in the wine.
Yes, absolutely. So yes, the red blend is sourced primarily from Portugal. And so that's where we're ultimately focusing on that one versus Cabernet Sauvignon, which is from France. So ideally, I'm like, you could go on a tour throughout all these 3 bottles and cover a good chunk of the European footprint.
Yeah. You want to share some of the tasting notes that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start with the white that we have. So that's the Verdejo from Spain. So for us, the real focus and what I love about this is it's got a little bit of honeysuckle that you can taste on it. So a little bit of sweetness, but still some stone minerality. So it is, it's not a Chardonnay and it's not a Sauvignon Blanc. No. It kind of sits in the middle. It's very approachable. It's not overly, I would say, there's not a lot of oak to it, if at all. And so it's still our family, and we do say this, we like to produce the wines that we enjoy on a day-to-day basis. And so for this white, it is that little bit more clean, crisp, still some body to it, but definitely honeysuckle and a little bit of that minerality stick out.
And it's not overly sweet either. It's
nope,
very
it is
light.
Not overly sweet. So definitely we do produce some sweet wines, but for the most part, what we wanted to do was, and for us too, is try and be a true representation of the white styles out of Spain for what we're making. Yeah, and then the next one we have is the red blend from Portugal. So for me, this is going to be a little bit more sweeter than the Cabernet Sauvignon, but still not sweet. So it's going to have just a little bit more ripeness. It's going to be just a little bit more vibrant on the red fruit and has a longer finish to it. The composition, we try and keep that, I'm going to say, inconspicuous behind the scenes. So as we always like to call in the industry, proprietary blend that we can evolve with. But again, not super sweet, but very vibrant on the reds with a longer finish on it from a profile. And it does have a little bit of that oakiness approach to it, but not heavy at all on it. No. Definitely still approachable. And then the last one is the Cabernet Sauvignon from France, which for us is more of the traditional style. So we still like it to have the velvety smoothness. I kind of get a little bit of coffee in it, a little dark roast that I would smell when you're enjoying it. And it's just, what Cabernet Sauvignons are known for. Yeah. So, but still not, it's approachable in an everyday style. Yeah.
They're very easy drinking, that's for sure.
Yeah, very easy. Sometimes too easy drinking.
Yes. And just because it has coffee notes doesn't mean you should start with it at breakfast.
Yeah, you never know. A glass of wine a day doesn't hurt.
Are the wines already produced when you get them, or does your sister Angelina, who is the winemaker in the family, overseeing some of that?
Yeah, so for the initial vintage, this was the inaugural release of Aviana. So I actually kicked it off in Denver. We don't have a set winemaker on it yet. So this is something we are revisiting. I think for us, we wanted to give ourselves a little bit of flexibility. Angelina is our consulting winemaker for the family. So I can't say it for certain, but I wouldn't be shocked if in a few years we give her the privilege, if she would accept, to maybe take on the responsibility of being the winemaker. But for right now, we've actually just kept it pretty neutral. So we actually make it, bottle it, source it, and make it in Europe before we bring it overseas. And again, the idea is, let's see how, when you're launching a new brand, it is harder than individuals realize to, where does it fit in the footprint? How do clients and consumers enjoy it? And so for us on this first inaugural vintage is really, let's establish what this is and let's see what the feedback is. Knowing we're not, landlocked for where we're sourcing from, we get real-time feedback, and that's what's amazing for it. So I would tell you the Verdejo is the one that's shining right now for everyone, in the sense it's surprising people, it's different, it's new. Yeah. And so naturally we're probably going to continue on with that one. But then the red blend and the Cabernet Sauvignon, same thing. People are enjoying it. So
I like the Portuguese one for sure.
Yeah, it would be. And again, Portuguese red blend, a lot of times people are looking to Italy and France for that. And so when we're doing the Portuguese style, it's definitely a flare of difference that most people wouldn't be pulling off the shelf.
Well, this is definitely going to stand out on the shelf, I think, too, because it's so compelling. And it's not just a typical grocery store label on wine.
Yep. And could I share where the image originated from? Yeah. So along with the name of Aviana, one of the fun things that we did for this for the first time in any of our creation of labels was we used artificial intelligence to curate the feminine face on this bottle. So initially it would look just like a random individual, but what we actually did was we took a composite of Rosa and Blanche, which is my grandmother. Oh. And we merged their faces together to ultimately get the picture of the woman on the label. Funny enough, when we saw this rendition, almost all of us were like, there's a lot of feminine similarities to Leah. And it makes sense because of the family legacy. And so we actually took that image, and we thought, okay, how do we, again, continue the storyline of the women who've been a part of our family for the last 100 years, and let's bring them together and try and put it on a label and add some colors and keep it vibrant. And the label is interactive as well, so if you hold your phone to it, it does some cool stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting you're saying that, because I did see in the marketing materials I received for preparing for this interview, I saw the picture, an actual photo of Rosa, and I've seen photos in the past with Cesare, but they're all older images, and they're not great quality. And this one was a really nice image of her, and I could see the similarity, but she was a little more fuller-faced than Aviana is.
Yep, totally. So again, similarities, but we kind of were like, let's just try and blend,
But definitely the cheekbones and the eyes and the nose.
And the eyebrows. Like, there's one trademark about our family. It's the eyebrows and the smile. But the eyebrows definitely show up on this one.
Yeah, yours look a lot like hers, too.
I know, not far off. I'm going to say, thank God the thicker eyebrows are in today.
Yes. And each wine has a nickname of sorts, like the Sage for Verdejo, the Adventurer is for the Portuguese blend, and the Artist is the Cabernet. Yeah. And is that also trying to tie into the traits that Rosa may have had?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Sage is really inspired by, I would say, wisdom. And I think that just, I even had a friend who called me the Sage the other week, and it was funny because she said it out of conversation, and I instantly was like, she's never seen this brand yet, so she doesn't know the storyline that we have. These 3 ideas resonating around each of these bottles, and it's really to just, I would say, emulate, but also just kind of give it some character that people can identify with. And there's different, you could drink all 3 wines. You can also experience those different stages in your life. You can be the one who's the sage, who's giving wisdom back. You could be the artist who's creative and inspirational. Then you could be the adventurer who's seeking and thrilling and trying to push the boundaries. And for us, it's the way we talk about our wines too is sometimes we give them human characteristics because they show up, they evolve. There's days where you're totally in alignment of how you're tasting it, consuming it, and then there's other times where you're like, you know what, I'm not feeling like a white today. I'm going to go into a red.
Sure.
And so, we have the adventurer, the artist, and the sage, and it's really just, again, all representative of the different times that Rosa showed those characteristics. I would definitely, without say, at her beginning years when, she was running the boarding house in Minnesota, had the 4 kids with Cesare, she was definitely more of the adventurer. She was the risk taker.
Well, it was a saloon too, right? And a market?
Yep, a saloon and a market. And so she, they did what it took to survive and persevere. Prohibition's where we got our start. And that was ultimately through sourcing grapes out of Lodi, developing a shipping company, transferring them to the East Coast. And so for me, that decade of her life was the adventure. That's where she had the ability to take risk and push the limits and, make a dream. They were trying to build the American dream. And then, fast forward, then you have the artists, which would probably, I would express that as in Charles Krug. When they purchased Charles Krug, they had a vision.
And even her cooking ability is artistic.
That, my biggest, unfortunately, I wasn't born yet to have experienced her cooking, but it is so funny because my dad, when he gets great meals in front of him, he will say the comment, it's either as good, if not, or he'll say, just does not make the mark of Rosa's cooking. So my oldest sister, Angelina, always challenges him on this. She actually has the original sourdough starter from that generation.
Oh, wow.
Yep, it's alive in her refrigerator. And so she will always, all my sisters are amazing cooks, but she in particular is determined to put meals in front of my dad and have him say, it's just as good, if not better, than what Rosa did. And honestly, very rarely would he ever admit that, but that's his absolute, and I think him, my uncle, that generation, like the privilege they got to have of her kitchen skills and what she was able to cultivate, ultimately bringing people together. But she had the artistry to blend and make spices and to produce her homemade pasta and feed, the running joke is she would have nothing in the refrigerator but able to feed 20 people.
Right. And to Angelina's support here, your dad's had a lot of wine over the years, so I'm sure his palate is taxed a bit. So maybe hers is as good as Rosa's was. But
yeah, definitely. Winemaking, she crushes it. She does a great job. So that's been, she does an unbelievable job. So I'm excited when we can, maybe in the future years, send her overseas and have fun with this brands and I would say expand the SKU line so we can offer a couple more varietals.
Yeah, nice. And you have quite a few affirmations on these, even at the bottom on the label there.
Yeah, it's very...
Living in grace, strength, improvement, and all kind of tying into...
Yeah, for us, it's... I think one of the beautiful things we know about the wine industry is we like to be able to educate and inspire consumers to connect with the labels. So for us, it's one of these, we want to give you the tea leaves so you can enjoy it and connect with it, and not just have a blank label and just something different so you can kind of resonate with whatever is pulling off the shelf in that moment.
And good or bad, and people do choose wine based on the label a lot of times, which drives me nuts. Don't go for that.
I know.
But at least you're capturing them with your label and in the right way.
Yep, and also the color design too is definitely, that was deliberate to not have every label be the same color. We wanted it to be, again, just something that can pull off the shelf, easy to resonate and remember, but... we had a lot of, in the floral depiction as well. Like for me personally, I love the colorations on the floral depiction.
Yes.
I do think too, not a lot of feminine names are out on the shelf. So Aviana, just what it is and what it's looking like. If I look at any shelf, it is a lot of male dominated names, which again, totally appropriate for the legacy and what they've created. But for this one, even within our family's offerings, this is the first time we have some more feminine expressed ideas.
They are very colorful and will jump off the shelf for sure.
If you see Aviana bottles in a store, use your camera and take a picture of the QR code. You won't need a QR code reader. Verify that you're 21, then point your camera to the image of Aviana. Then you'll be invited into her world and receive inspiring messages in 3D. When you return from being transfixed with wonder, pick up a few bottles to take home. I'll be back with Giovanna Mondavi after this word from my sponsor.
The cold weather may be lingering, but SCP has some hot tips to help save energy and show your bill some love. Start by making sure you're on the right electricity rate plan and taking advantage of discount programs you may qualify for. These two things can make a big difference in your bill. Show your thermostat some TLC. Lower it a few degrees when you're away or snuggled up under a blanket. And consider a smart thermostat. It knows when to keep it cozy and when to take a break. Let's talk lighting. Swap out those old bulbs for energy-efficient LEDs. They're brighter and they last longer. Your wallet will thank you. And be sure to check your energy bill for any unusual spikes. It could be time to reassess your energy habits. We can help. Visit SonomaCleanPower.org or drop by our energy center in Santa Rosa. For more help understanding and lowering your bill, we look forward to seeing you. Sonoma Clean Power. Innovation grown locally.
It's not surprising that being Mondavi family members, the G4 ladies decided to include a philanthropic element by donating to causes that are close to their heart, like Equality Now, appropriate for the Aviana brand.
Yes, that was a very big thing for us. Equality Now is a network, international nonprofit. It is a network that brings together advocates, lawyers, activists to support women of all backgrounds across the world in any need or situation. Proceeds for every purchase of Aviana does go back to Equality Now. So this is something that, we have a saying with this brand, sip with purpose.
Yes.
It is really...
Sip with purpose.
Sip with purpose, yeah. So it's really important for us. We have always been philanthropically oriented within our community. We've been really big on it. And then just in our own focus, it is, we have the ability to have a name that can help create awareness and help drive the importance. We have a product that will help bring people together. and start discussions and talking points. And so for us, Equality Now was just an appropriate fit for the design of this label and our storyline of our history, and Rosa and Blanche and just all the ladies who have been a part of this journey. And Equality Now, just with everything that's going on in the world, just seemed like an appropriate fit for exactly what we're advocating for and persevering. And, for the first time, Sais Mondavi and family is majority owned by females. And so there's 5 females and our amazing Lucio, who's championing us on and absolutely a part of the picture. But, Rosa was president for a period, and it's majority of the time been the patriarchs who have led the way. And we're just excited to be able to have this as just part of our heritage as a part of it. And, I do enjoy this brand in addition to not only Equality Now and what it's giving to, but this is, as much as it is a homage to our past, it is a very forward-thinking brand. For us, this is more, let's talk about the future and the realities of today. Let's just be more present. I'm going to say we respect history, and I'm so thankful for my history, but Aviana is, what's the next frontier that we're going to be able to bring to the community.
Nice. Yeah. And I've met your mother and your aunt, Peter's
Janice
wife.
Janice and Katie.
And they are strong women as well. I mean,
Definitely
they
strong.
fit in with strong matriarchs.
Yes. Oh, no doubt about them. They are very strong. And they've raised great kids. They can't go wrong with that. So they've always been there, and they're both still involved and supportive in everything that we're doing.
But that's been a trend throughout the many generations of your family to raise money and fund respectable causes. And
it's this isn't documented, but we're I was talking to my sisters, and it was actually when I launched this brand, talking about Equality Now and an event in Denver, and we are philanthropic. We do not talk about enough, but we have estimated just loosely in the last 10 years, we've probably been able to raise, advocate, and support about $14 million in various charities.
Wow.
So me and my sisters chaired Napa Valley Auction. That was one of the biggest ones we did in 2018. But even then, every single year, we put ourselves in certain rooms to create awareness for causes, whether it's based off our passion or where we want to be affiliated. Again, it's not a hard number. It's something that we don't advertise or publicize enough for how much we've actually contributed or giving back. But loosely, I kind of did soft math, and it's probably $14 million in the last 5 to 10 years that we've been associated with.
That's
and
respectable.
It's just something that it gives me more motivation to do more, be more, support more.
And that's something that goes on throughout the industry, which I'm very touched by, because there's a lot of philanthropic endeavors throughout the wine industry. And
it's a privilege what we get to do, and it's a privilege to share.
Anything else you'd like to tell me about Aviana that we can pass on to our listeners?
I would absolutely love if you see it in a label. So we did get it into a pretty large supermarket to test run with it. So I'm going to drop Target is going to be picking it up, not across the country, just in certain spots. So for us, that was a big opportunity, but also it's interactive. So I always tell people, bring out your phones when you see a bottle, purchase a bottle. Price point is around $20, give or take. That was a deliberate design that we wanted to ensure that was accessible at any price point, but also curated and executed by the Sais Mondavi and family. So quality is everything we prioritize. If you see the brand, enjoy it, be dynamic with it. I think the technology side is something different than what we've done as far as just, consuming the wine out of the bottle and purchasing it. And I'm going to say be interactive, tag us on social media. The whole joy is, sip with purpose, but also tap into your inner artist, your sage, or your adventurer, and have fun with it.
And as you say, be adventurous, be daring, and be you.
Yes, and don't be, unapologetically be you.
Right. So I noticed, this is the 2022 vintage. Is the 2023 coming out sometime in the near future?
So 2022 is what we're running with. So 2023, we will anticipate to have that on shelf in spring of this year. this 2023 is going to have the same 3 red blend, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Verdejo that we'll be offering. And so we'll have that going next spring.
And then you anticipate some more in the future?
Yeah, I have a sneaky suspicion this brand's going to allow us to grow and evolve. And so do I know what those SKUs are going to be? I'm not going to disclose yet.
Sure.
Also, do I know what countries we're going to go to next? I won't disclose that either. If you have any suggestions, we're all ears. One of the things is, how do we stay true to who we are but still have a style of entrepreneurship along the way? And this is something that's allowing us to be more entrepreneurial in our design and development of what we're offering.
Well, as long as you have like a Cabernet Sauvignon or a Sauvignon Blanc,
Yep.
You're still tying into Napa Valley.
Oh, yes. Again, we're
In
not
a
going
sense.
too far from the roots.
Yeah, right. Well, Gigi, it's been a real pleasure to talk with you about Aviana.
Thank you very much.
And congratulations, and here's to a huge success.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
It's easy to pick up some bottles if they're on a shelf in your neighborhood. Just visit avianawine.com, only one N in Aviana, and within the drop-down menu, you'll see Find Near You. And then you can discover your inner adventurer, artist, or sage. Today's episode was written, recorded, and produced by me. Please subscribe to On the Wine Road podcast so each episode will automatically appear on your favorite platform. And I appreciate a positive review if that's an option. Find images, wine news, trivia, and more interviews at onthewineroad.us. I'm on Facebook as On the Wine Road and Instagram as JD Wine Road. I'll talk to you again soon as I share more from my travels on the Wine Road. I'm Jeff Davis.